So here is my sewing awl setup, or sail sewer. This thing's a little beat up. I've had it for quite a while. So there are two main types of sail sewers or sewing awls. And there's this type, which your bobbin, the thing that holds your thread, slides in here. And then there's another type where the bobbin actually goes inside the handle, and the thread comes out. There's a little nubbin that you use to do tensioning, and then it goes up in through the thing that holds the needle. It's a preference thing. Neither one of them is better than the other. It's just, again, it's a preference thing. I like this kind because I like the fact that all my extra stuff goes in the handle. The little wrench goes in the handle. Everything extra goes into handle, so I don't have a lot of stuff flinging around. That's why I've always just kind of liked this type. So how you get this set up, there's a couple of different ways you can do it. You can either take your thread, and if you can even see it, there's a tiny little hole that you would have to get in and go up through there. And it's not hard to do with this particular upholstery thread, but if you're using the waxed threads that are a little bigger, it's really hard to get it up that little tiny hole. So again, and then some people have little tools that they'll stick down there and loop it through and pull it through. You can do that. If I'm using the smaller needle, it goes all the way through here, and I just use that to thread it. So when you do that, it is important. It's going to be super hard to see on the camera, but in these needles on one side, there's a groove, and that is where the thread comes up. It rests in that little groove right there. So when you thread it, you have to be careful that that groove side is the side that you're putting the thread through. So let me see if I can do this without sticking it up close to my face. Ooh, miracle. So you thread your needle, making sure that the thread's going in on the side that has the big groove all the way down the needle. You pull it through, and you don't unthread it. You just, now if you ended up threading it through the side that didn't have the groove in it, it's not a killer. You just take the thread all the way off the needle and thread it the correct way, because you want that thread to lay flat in that groove like that. I should have used like a darker colored thread so it'd be easier to see. But anyway, then you put it, making sure the thread is in there. You go ahead and put it in the little hole. And it should fit fairly tightly. And then you put your bobbin in where it belongs, making sure you haven't pitched your thread at all. So you've got the part that the screw goes into. Get it started. Use your wrench to tighten it up. And then this is the little cap that holds your needle in. So you put your thread through that hole. Tighten that down. And use your wrench to tighten that, otherwise your needle's gonna come out or spin, and you don't want any of that to happen. All right, so you've got everything. Your bobbin is screwed in and stable. Your needle is in and threaded with the thread in the little gap. and then you're going to pick your material. Okay, so I put a black thread in here. A little easier to see it in that little channel for the thread. Seat it in. Put your little cap on. Make sure everything's still in its little channel. Tighten it up. And get ready to sew. Okay, so again, you're going to pull, and this is a waxed thread. You're going to pull the amount of thread that you need. Just going to pull a little extra here. You're going to go through your fabric. You're going to pull your thread all the way onto one side, pull the needle all the way out, and that's your starting point again. So you've got your starting point, thread through one side and through the other side. This is your working end, the end with the the end of the thread not connected to your sewer is your working end. You're going to get the length that you want to make. So you're going to go through the fabric. Then you're going to pull the needle down, and you can see how it makes, when you pull it down, see how it makes the little opening loop. You take the working end of your thread, and you're moving. You want to put the thread from where it came from to where it's going. So you don't want to loop it around, like you would not want to put this. We're going to go this way with the stitch. So you wouldn't want to come around and put the thread through this direction. You want to put it through in the direction that you're going to make your stitching line. So you've pulled that through. Now you pull your needle back out. You're putting your thumb here that gives you tension, and you pull. So you're nice and tight. You've got your thread on that side. You've got your stitch on that side and your stitch on that side. Then you're going to go whatever length you want to make your stitches to that. Put it through the fabric again. So you're going through the fabric. Now you can sew anything from leather to denim. So you've gone through your fabric, pull it all the way down. That helps tighten up the stitch before it. Then you're pulling the needle back through, which makes, you can see the little loop. Get your working end through the loop, pull it tight, and then pull that needle back out of the fabric and pull it tight. So now you've got 2 stitches, and you just keep doing that, pulling it through. I have to keep coming up here and pulling the string on. You want to make sure that you've got enough looseness on here, but just enough tension, and that totally changes depending on what type of thread you're using. With the waxed thread, you don't have to worry about pulling tension back because the waxed kind of does that. Make your loop again. You can see your little, loop gone, loop there. Take your thread and put your thread in the direction that you're sewing. So you just keep doing this. Pull it, make sure everything's flat. And I'm going to do a bunch of them and come back and show you what it looks like. All right, so I've got several stitches in now, and I just wanted to show, so depending on what thread you're working with, whether it's regular upholstery thread or something like this waxed thread, will kind of depend on how much thread you'll give yourself on the back side. So you want to, when you're working with this thicker waxed thread, you want to pull enough thread out that's kind of like the length of the needle. Otherwise, it starts to bunch your fabric up and you have to stop and kind of give it a pull. But if you give yourself a little extra, then when you pull through, and you want a little bit more. So you're going a little bit more than the length of your needle because you've got to leave room for the length of your stitch. Push it through. Push it all the way down. Now you've got your working end. You're pulling. Still got to see the screen. You're pulling it, the needle back down, which creates your loop through the end. And if the end of your thread gets frayed like mine is, you can snip a little bit off. So once you're done, say we're done, okay? There's a couple of different things that you can do to finish it off. What my favorite is, I pull my needle back out. This is my last stitch. I pull everything tight. Then I give myself some working thread. I snip that off. And what I did not grab is another needle, but I'm just going to cheat here. If you have a regular sewing needle, then at this point, whatever the back of my piece of fabric was, I would do a knot. And again, there are multiple different ways to finish this. You can either thread a needle on both ends, and you can work the thread back through your stitching to hold the thread in place. You can, if you can do a knot in a seam and hide the knot that way, or protect the knot that way, or if there's a definite back side of the fabric, then what I do then is I would use a regular sewing needle, not another one of these, because the head's bigger and it's easier to thread it. But anyway, I'm just going to use this one just to give you an idea. I would put this back through the fabric. Grab the end of my thread. Pull that all the way through. And this is why you should use a regular sewing needle, because these aren't really designed to pull all the way through fabric. Now you have your thread on one side of your fabric, and you can just tie a knot, square knot, not a granny knot. So that's one way you can finish it. Again, another way that you can finish it would be to put a regular thread, the end of the thread with onto a regular sewing needle, and feed it back through your stitching. That will hold it in place. That works really, really well with your waxed thread, because it's fairly grippy, so it will hold on. On regular upholstery thread that isn't waxed, that I really do like to tie a knot in it. And you can hide that in a seam. You can make sure it's on the back side of the fabric. Well, whatever works best for your particular scenario. But as you can see, you now have, and it's super not straight because I'm talking and sewing at the same time, which apparently I can't do. So you've got a nice locked stitch that's going to hold everything nice and taut, just like a sewing machine would. So that is how to use a sail sewer, or stitching awl, or easy sewer, or quick sewer, or the multitude of other names that these have. Hope everybody enjoyed this video, and I'm going to actually remember to say press the subscribe button if you haven't already done so, and the like, and turn on the little notification thingamajiggy that will tell you when we've put another video onto YouTube. Hope everybody is having a wonderful day. That's where I keep my thread.
Have a nice day.
Mike's over there. Have a nice day. Enjoy and get out there and adventure. Bye, everybody.